Hey, what's happening, everyone? Pragmatic Addict here. I'm with Jacob. We are back now for episode 11 of season 2 of Mike Judge's revival series of Beavis and Butthead. So, with these two episodes, I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't too excited for them. The first one, called Ciabatta Zone, I was actually looking forward to because this was actually going to bring the guys back to Burger World finally in this season. We saw this in the trailer. It was maybe the last piece out of the trailer that I was really looking forward to. So the last episode of this season that comes next week is called Abduction and Sleepover. And just thinking about those titles, I'm like, I don't know if I've seen any clips relating to abductions or sleepovers in the trailer. So again, as far as stuff that I was actually looking forward to, this was the last one. So I was very excited to see this one. So let's just get into these two episodes.
This first episode, it did two shorts. I just wanted to point that one out because, the second one didn't really do any shorts, and I'm like, usually
it didn't, did it?
Yeah, it's just kind of weird.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah,
was that really the case?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Anderson thing kind of counted.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, there is an Anderson Wars stories in here, which I do want to talk about, but yeah, that didn't even occur to me. So for this first episode, the Ciabatta Zone, what I will say is that I did start to get a bad feeling kind of right off the bat where, based off of what happens even in the first sequence, I had that feeling where it was like, wait a minute, is this going to be that kind of thing where the only catch or the only grab of this episode is just seeing the two back at Burger World again? Because all I'm going to say is that the way that this episode starts, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it makes that much sense or that they tried too hard with it. Which basically, this episode opens up with, yes, the boys working at Burger World. Beavis is mopping the floor with mustard and ketchup. And I'm like, okay, I get that. Enough, it's Beavis and Butthead. Beavis is mopping the floor with mustard and ketchup while Butthead is pouring mustard and ketchup into the bucket. Which I'm like, okay, again, fair enough. But then the manager just walks up, doesn't say anything about it. He's just like, hey guys, we're promoting this new ciabatta sandwich and we have this fucking costume, this burger costume, and you guys are gonna have to wear it to promote the new sandwich, which for whatever reason Beavis really wants to wear it. And Beavis even states this to the manager right here. He's like, well, I can wear it. And then the manager just totally ignores it, says, all right, Butthead, put this on. Beavis, you keep mopping the floor. And I'm like, so you notice he's mopping the floor, but you don't know the mustard or the ketchup, okay? But basically what ends up happening is that the next scene, while Butthead is standing out in this costume, all these hot girls are walking up to him, asking him to take a picture with him, and one of them even says, can we sit on your lap? And I'm just like, okay, they're obviously doing this shit just to make Beavis completely go at war with Butthead, or that's what I was thinking. Even in this scene, if you look closely enough, off to the side, you can see Butthead just peering, or you can just see Beavis peering out the window of the restaurant, just having all this anger against Butthead for what is going on right now. Immediately from there, I was like, okay, I'm officially in. The whole beginning of this episode just didn't work for me, but seeing where this is going, I'm curious, because I didn't really know where it was going to go. I was like, well, is Beavis gonna go at war with Butthead over this? Even in the thumbnails, there was a tease at a costume that kind of resembled what Beavis was wearing from the Warrior episode, so I'm like, what's this gonna turn into? Because now Butthead is getting this kind of luck. But before we go more forward with this episode, we actually get our first cutaway, which is of a Post Malone bit. And all I'm gonna say is that what I liked about this commentary is that it seems like that kind of tongue-in-cheek roast, where they're roasting on him out of good nature. It's like lighthearted roast where they're not actually degrading the dude. We've seen that. We've seen where they're just degrading douchebags to hell and back. And I'm just like, I mean, have at it. Yeah, I don't like Jack Harlow either. But they're actually commenting on a Post Malone bit, which I really enjoyed because I like Post Malone, and it seems like Beavis and Butthead do as well. And again, we actually get a second commentary, like Jacob was saying, where we do get the other half, where they are just roasting this CEO, and I'm not even going to talk about this. I'm just going to say that it's that typical thing where they actually are roasting an actual douchebag. And I'm like, okay, I can kind of see where Mike Judge, admires some public figures, and he doesn't. And you're going to see both ends of that. It just works well with him incorporating that into these characters. But after this Post Malone commentary, we now see the boys back at home. They're off work now, and Butthead is still wearing this costume where he's just bragging to Beavis about how these girls were taking pictures with him. He even touched one of their butts and everything. And Beavis is just kind of like, yeah, okay, Butthead. He's just clearly over it because he wanted to wear the costume in the beginning, in which Beavis states again, and Butthead responds, Beavis, I am never taking this costume off. I am wearing this till the end of time. Well, back to work. And Beavis goes, wait, we're going back to work already? And Butthead just starts wearing this thing around the town, just standing in front of random businesses, buildings, trying to get that same kind of attraction. And this is another thing where, as this kind of thing came up, I was like, okay, whatever. But basically what ends up happening is that while Butthead is standing outside this building still in the burger costume, standing outside random buildings, Beavis basically comes up with his own costume where he says that he's pizza. He's wearing a traffic cone and he's wearing like a mattress, like a pink mattress around him. But I will say that this episode does throw you for a loop, which you could kind of expect this episode as far as an ending, which obviously with the consideration of things in this episode, I didn't really know where it was gonna go. But this episode basically wraps up with, obviously Butthead is still wearing the burger costume to try and get that same attraction. He thinks that this thing is some sort of chick magnet. And this guy walks up to Butthead saying, are you the guy that touched Angela's ass yesterday in the burger costume? And Butthead, not realizing that this guy is kind of like threatening him, he's like, yep, that was me. And the guy basically gives Butthead a heads up, hey, well, her boyfriend's coming down here to kick your ass. And I'm like, okay, hopefully Butthead will get what he deserves. Nope. He goes up to Beavis and says, Beavis, I know how badly you want this. It's time to go into the Ciabatta zone. Which Beavis is just completely thrilled. He's completely oblivious. And Butthead gives him the costume to wear. And it basically wraps up with Beavis getting his ass kicked. Now, I will say, it wraps up fine enough. There was commentary that was fine enough. There's even pieces in this episode that were fine enough. I just think it could have gone down some routes that were better. I had thoughts, especially with this episode, starting to get its ball rolling, where I was like, okay, where's it gonna go? And it just didn't go down routes that really hit me. So overall, I am feeling like, let's say, a high mixed on this episode.
I'm gonna give it a 4.9.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad episode. And it had good things to it. It just, by the end, I'm like, it's not an episode I'm going to go back to, probably. Mm-mm. There are things I liked about it, things I'm going to remember from this episode, but as a full episode, there's just so many more that I'd rather watch. But now we're going to get into episode 2 called Warehouse, which I wasn't really looking forward to this one at all. Like, based off the plot, I was just kind of like, okay. So it's basically old Beavis and Butthead getting a job at an Amazon-based warehouse, which is called Amatron. So basically how this episode starts off is we see Beavis and Butthead walking into a convenience store, and Beavis puts down a couple bucks to get, some money on gas pump 2. And immediately, right there, I was just like, do you really trust Beavis and Butthead using a gas pump? Do they even know how to pump gas?
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I don't even trust them driving a car.
And honestly, during that segment, it was like during that little piece of the episode, just that piece, I was like, what I wouldn't give to see Beavis and Butthead trying to pump gas into their vehicle. But basically, what ends up happening from there is the guy's like, pump 2, there's no vehicle there. And they're like, oh, we must have forgot the car.
There's no car at pump 2.
What? Oh, yeah. We forgot the car. It just shows to go, you want to buy gas, you gotta bring the car. You know what I'm saying?
And so they walk back to their house to get the car, and while walking back and forth, a lady actually recruits them and says, yeah, I've seen you guys walking past quite a bit. I'm actually hiring people to work for a warehouse. It's called Amatron, obviously ripping on Amazon. And she tells them that the job comes with benefits, where they see it as, oh, she wants to be friends with benefits. So obviously, yeah, they apply for this job just for the benefits that they think that they're going to be getting.
Them thinking the whole benefits thing, it kind of reminds me of how they almost thought they were going to marry that one chick. It's just kind of like...
Wait, which chick are we talking about? There's been a lot of times.
Oh, when they accidentally marry each other.
Oh, yes, in this season.
Yeah.
And while we see them working at this warehouse, with it being an Amazon-based building and having fucking everything in the facility, they find the nacho cheese stash, which the whole fucking shift, the whole episode, they're just loading up on this nacho cheese. And what I'm going to say is that I'm not going to talk about everything in this episode just because this is one of those episodes that feels like there was just a lot of filler. You know, before this, they're getting the kind of nods about, like, you know, the robots and everything. They're seeing, like, the boss and the lady that they thought that they were going to be scoring with, saying, yeah, well, that's the boss. He's the guy you can talk to about the benefits. And so it just kind of goes around those routes where you're like, oh, haha. But it doesn't really go into depth with that. It's just kind of, again, it feels like filler.
Them wanting to can spray cheese kind of reminded me of the Goofy movie a little bit. But, like, it's just like they're obsessed with this spray cheese and they think it's all futuristic even though it kind of existed since the 80s.
Yeah, it's really just Cheese Whiz, and they think that they've come across this like high quality stash of Cheese Whiz. Yeah, and basically how this episode ends up playing out is that by the end of the episode we see them fully cheesed out, where Butthead's like, you know, Beavis, what do you say we get a couple cans in us, we get those benefits from that lady, and then we knock off for the day. And what I'm going to say is that based off of how they handle things, with them just kind of having all these shelves of Cheese Whiz that they've brought to themselves, it actually ends up crowding this area and setting the building on fire because these are shelves that move by electricity. Like, it's like conveyor belt shit, right? Or whatever. I don't know how fucking Amazon works, but I have a friend that works in Amazon, and I'm totally gonna send her this episode. What I'm gonna say is that Mike Judge has a real fascination with his characters just setting buildings on fire. When this happened, I'm like, no, they've set shit on fire before, as has fucking Milton. But yes, it basically ends with them setting the building on fire, and it just kind of ends there. So it's one of those things like the past episode, where I thought it was fine, but it didn't give me too much. But what I will say is that unlike the last episode, this one did feel more well-paced. It didn't have too much to offer, and I think that there were things in the past episode that I liked more, but this one just felt more of like a stable episode. But yeah, I'm also going to give a mixed review for this episode as well. They're just not episodes that I'm going to come back to. And I don't know if this is something that Mike Judge did deliberately, but like both these episodes are based on like the work industry. You know, we see them working at fast food, and then we see them at the warehouse. And I just got that now. I'm like, huh, these are both episodes where you see them working. Okay. And again, maybe that's just a thing where it's like the episodes were both in the same category, and they both just didn't deliver to something that they really could have, you know? Seeing them in a warehouse for the first time, seeing them back at Burger World, there's a lot that they could have done, and I feel like it just didn't go there for me. Also, seeing the Anderson war story in this one, what I will say is that I usually don't care about these. They're like, you know, just a couple minutes, and I don't really gain anything from them. But in this one, it's actually in the middle of, like, a war. In the middle of, like, a battle zone, and he's in a building trying to fix a fucking faucet, and I'm like, this is literally Anderson in the war.
Well, I always say there's nothing more expensive than saving a little money on home maintenance. Okay, Han Yang, where's the main water shut-off to the house? Han Yang? Well, it ought to be by the water heater. Usually is.
How did he survive the war? But he did tease that, you know, we'll save something for one more episode, so obviously, with next week's being the final episode, I'm guessing we will get the wrap-up of the Anderson stories as well, so I'm curious about that.
My review is, I'm going to give it was kind of a little bland, so I'm going to give it a 3.7.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that these episodes, like, I didn't care about or, like, I didn't need them. I mean, seeing them back at Burger World, it was fine. There was some stuff I liked about it. Seeing them in a warehouse, it was fine. There was some stuff I liked about it. But it just didn't, none of these episodes are anything I'm going to come back to. But yes, guys, that is going to do it for this episode. Next week, guys, we have our final episode, and I'm just going to spill the tea. I have been talking with this content creator for a couple weeks now. We've got something going. If everything can work out, he's got a completely different time schedule than us. You know, if everything can work out, if we can get everything going, this would be my first collaboration, but we're all very excited to do it. We will be having a guest on the finale of this season, which is none only than 8-Bit Massacre. We are going to be doing a reaction together, reviewing the episode together. Very excited to do that. Again, if everything can go as planned, we really want to do it, so look forward to that. But yes, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Later on today, we will be seeing No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence. I'm very excited to talk about my thoughts on that one. I have a lot of thoughts about it, so look forward to that later today. But yes, guys, thank you guys always for watching. We will see you very soon in the next video, and I hope that you guys are having a great day. Take care.